What's up with it? The Diehard Fans Sports Show for America. I'm Coach Cornelius. Let's Women's Day. So I'm a of all female. What Jackie Joyner Kersey did was unbelievable, and having asthma as a kid, I grew up with asthma. But her as an adult having asthma and being able to compete at those high levels, um, what were they the triathlons, decathlons, and um, track and field starring was great. So shout out to Jackie Joyner Kersey. Another shout out to Gail Divas. Gail's story was something was wrong with her legs early on in life, and then she turned out to be one of the world's fastest women of her time. So shout out to that. Wilma Rudolph, way back in the days, winning. Um, she was another one of those. She had polio, I think, and then she went on to do her thing. Um, a lot of great international, and I would say Serena Williams, international star tennis court, probably the best ever, the GOAT. They calling her the GOAT, so the greatest of all time. Um, Basketball, I would go with Cheryl Miller. I've shouted her out on the show before, but a little bit before my time. Didn't really get to see her play. It was no WNBA back then, but she did play a little bit overseas, and she dominated in the college arena. So, um, pretty much, the International Women's Day made me think about a lot of athletes, a lot of female athletes, and a lot of women taking over in the business arenas within sports organizations throughout the hell. By combines week, the convention mentioned. Um, but you got to see some execs. I forgot exactly what I was watching, but I got different execs. I want to say basketball last night after the they highlighted women from various NBA stations, video operations and everything. So shout out for International Women's Day. Uh, what's her name, Grasso or whatever. You know, pulling off the upset, winning the UFC. I want to say flyweight one. That was pretty impressive. I got to see the highlights. Started keeping with the UFC. John Jones winning the heavyweight title in the first round. Didn't really take much, and that's my thing about sometimes about the pay per views. You spend your money on those pay per views, and then you don't get your money sometimes. But that's just the way it is. Um, you can win early on in the fight, go ahead and take them out. Go ahead and do what you can do. And last night, went to see the movie Creed, and it got me to thinking. After the movie, I started thinking about my favorite boxers of all time, um, and quite a few of them. I really, like I really appreciated the effort that they put in. You could tell that they out trained others, and then you tell some got lazy throughout their careers. But without Ali, everybody already knows Ali is the greatest by consensus. And most boxing fans, my Ali is the standard. But with that being said, it was Sugar Ray Leonard for me coming up. Um, Maybe I was always small, and he seemed small on TV or whatever. But Sugar Ray Leonard, him fighting the Tommy Hearns, him fighting Marvin Hagler, him fighting what's his name, Roberto Duran. Those guys. So for me, it was Sugar Ray Leonard. Um, Also, I like, um, we can say Tyson. Tyson, I came up in the Tyson era. So, Tyson was huge. He did his thing. So I got Sugar Ray Leonard, Tyson, George Foreman. Being from Houston, Texas, heard a lot about George. George, Fifth Ward, Houston, Texas, man. Shout out to George. You know, a lot of people know him for the Foreman grills and stuff like that. But George Foreman was actually a great, great think what made him special that he boxed well until he was almost 50. He was 48. He was 40 something, 45 or something, 44, 45, maybe even older than that when he fought Holyfield. He didn't win that fight, but he fought like Shannon Briggs. He fought a couple of fights. And not only that, to keep doing it, the push is almost 50. That's unbelievable. Now George was a bigger guy, like he put on pounds, you know. But what was the most impressive thing to me about him fighting the Holyfield fight is he never sat down. Like if you watch some of his fights in his latter years of boxing, he never sat down in the corners. So for me, it was like that. Where does he get the stamina and and be able to compete at that level? But watching the movie, for those that didn't see it, I ain't gonna ruin it for you. But just that fight storyline or whatever, it made me think about not necessarily a friend, childhood friends growing up, but it made me think about um what's his name, Oliver McCall, Lennox Lewis fight where Lennox Lewis lost to his sparring partner. That first fight, Lennox redeemed himself, but it's almost something similar. You in there against somebody that you spar against, and he actually won the fight. Oliver McCall, I want to say that was 94 or something like that. He won that fight. Uh, got something like say 97. They fought the second fight or something like that, but he was able to pull it off. But it's been a lot of great boxers. I told y'all a little bit about Felix Trinidad. I was a huge Felix Trinidad fan. That was another good fighter. I mean, I just liked his stature and I liked him. Felix was what we used to call in the hood a headhunter, man. He was going for the head. He wasn't playing with it. Like he came right at you. And then I don't know what happened to Felix after he got knocked out by Hopkins, but that was pretty much the end of Felix. But sometimes that happens in boxing. There's been a lot of great boxers, but watching that movie, it just made me think about my favorite boxers. So like I said, Sugar Ray Leonard, Mike Tyson, George Foreman, Felix Trinidad, they were at the top. I wasn't a huge De La Hoya guy. I used to like to see De La Hoya to see was he gonna lose. Now Oscar brought it when he brought it, but um, in a couple of fights he ran. Let's just be real, like and a lot of people say Sugar Ray Leonard ran in the fight against Marvin. Which probably was smart because Marvin Hagler looked like he was the stronger fighter. Not only that, Marvin Hagler was headhunting, but he kept backing it for Sugar Ray Leonard to stand toe to toe. But if you got boxing skills, why would I stand toe to toe with you? It's sort of like what Floyd Mayweather mastered. And you already know my feelings on Mayweather. That's why he's not on my list. But because I think I ain't gonna say he cheated the brand a little bit because he made his money. He was one of the greatest entertainers you've seen. Probably made the most money as a boxer slash promoter, slash running his own little camp. But he just didn't do it for me in the ring. They say he a master of defense, but man, you don't never have. Show me one epic clip of Mayweather going, toe to toe, standing in there trading blows with somebody. And maybe I changed my opinion, but a lot of times, and then, like I said, Floyd ducked the biggest competition. I'm talking about fighters that fought the biggest competition. Sugar Ray Leonard almost lost his eye in the fight. Got his eye out of the fight. So let's fight. They are gonna have those prolific fights. Now remember, Ali fought Frazier 3 times. And Joe Frazier is never on anybody's list as a great fighter, but he got to fight the greatest 3 times. And first time he took Ali out. Second time, Ali won. It went the distance. Um, so and in the last one, of course, they fought epic fights, but they was fighting like 15 rounds, like gladiators or something. That's way too long. It's glad they shortened that down. But when you look at fighters, watching that movie it just put me in that mind frame of where the boxers is at now. Where the great, you got Tank, you got a few, but you don't have as many as you once had. When boxing was a dominant thing, when it was a prime thing, when it was really on everybody's minds to fight. Nowadays, everybody's like, who's who, who's what. Like we just said, like last week I was talking about Jake Paul and Tommy Fury or whatever. Like not really anything to push a button on or anything to get your blood pressure up. But I'm just saying, like they need to bring. I said it before. I'll say it again. They need to bring back those types of monumental fights. Even those of us that wasn't alive when it happened know about the Thriller in Manila. Had to go look it up, had to see it. Things like so. It's certain matches like Tyson Holyfield. Those epic battles that you got to go back and look at. Um, for a while, Tyson was, man, he was chopping them. That's what I liked about Mike. He was chopping them, and then all of a sudden, he did become a character a little bit. A little circus here and there. But the circus that was Mike Tyson brought in a lot of money and had all the eyes. I think it's something about heavyweight fighters that's different than watching, all the other divisions of fighting. And one guy I didn't mention because I really wasn't huge on him, but he was pretty good. But I thought he fought in a weight class that really, at the time, really wasn't a prominent weight class, and that's Roy Jones. Roy Jones Jr., man, he put on a show. He was pretty good, but I remember I can't remember his name from the Rocky movie that knocked him out. I can't even remember his name, man. See, that's what I'm saying. But Tarver beat him. Tarver beat the brakes off Roy Jones, man. Knocked him silly. Nobody was ever expecting that. But Roy Jones, when he was at the top of his game, I think when he was in his prime, it just wasn't many fighters out there. But Creed made me think about a lot of the epic fights, a lot of the greats that box. Um, Pretty good movie, but at the same time, I'm more stoked about what's to come in boxing. Um, UFC has definitely surpassed boxing as in my mind as far as something to watch. People go head to head. The gladiators go head to head. It's like, um, um, but I guess what really the movie really made me did, it made me think about being that kid watching Sugar Ray Leonard, the wind up, the little moves, the quickness, the speed, the agility in the ring, that bouncing on the toes, that just getting into it, that scrapping, and where would we be without classic stuff like that? I mean, I don't know. I wish sometimes the younger generations could have saw some of those things, not just on YouTube here and there, but actually witness some of those events when they took place. You can't go back in time; you can only go forward. But then you can see the level of competition is different. I don't know if boxing is the same because you don't have a lot of perennial boxers anymore. The skill level's not there. But it seemed like to me, a lot of the good fighters, they duck each other. They don't want to get in there and scrap. They don't want to get in there and scrap. And it's all about promoting. It's all about, but not. I think the best promotion is when you bring the best fighters together. I think that that makes it worth watching. I mean, because let's just be honest, we don't really want to see Jake Paul. Like nobody really want to see Jake Paul fight really, unless it's for titles, unless he going after something, But you don't really want to see him fight. Like you want to see fighters that train, that came prepared, that was ready all the time. I'm not saying Jake Paul not ready. I'm saying that he ain't as prepared as these other boxers. Like doing and dudes that came up in the game. I mean, Jake Paul kind of remind me of the guy in the movie last night, just like an overnight guy come up, But Jake Paul did fight like, a bunch of nobodies really that in boxing. When I say nobody's in boxing, like, like I said, all real, maybe real, maybe it won't. But I'm looking forward to it because what I miss that around the ring, getting geared up for fights, and spending your money on something. Those pay-per-view bouts don't be about much these days. Lots of disappointment, lots of talk, but not a whole lot of not a whole lot of greatness being displayed, in my opinion. These days. But what do I know? I'm just a fan. Um, but moving on, the XFL reboot. Man, I gotta say, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again, people. I'm impressed. I'm impressed with what the XFL is doing. The quality of the players are better, and the differences between, for those that don't know, the XFL tried before, but it was more of a gimmick type thing. Now they come out with more of playing the game type thing. You don't see the crazy name in the jersey, just see the last name was more real. Back in the days, they had names like He Hate Me, Crusher and stuff like that. Like WWE now. Back then it was WWF, but it was sort of like that. But now they got rid of the characters. They just got players, and these guys are playing some football. Big up to Dwayne Johnson, aka The Rock again, and all work with the XFL. It's exciting, but question I haven't been in stores much, but are they selling XFL jerseys yet? Um, are you ordering them online? I mean, those are questions that I have, but those are things I'm going to check into to see what's going on. Houston Roughnecks, man. I like the name, the Houston Roughnecks. They got like the Renegades. I like some of the names of the teams. Um, as far as how they represent. But yeah, good reboot, good thing. More games coming Saturday and Sunday. You can check them out, FX and ESPN. I think you some of those games. But NFL, man, they playing the game, franchise tag you it. Now, what I can't believe is they tag. I can believe it. The Ravens, they didn't just tag Lamar Jackson. They gave him non-exclusive, which means another team can make an offer. So basically, just in my opinion, you just said, "Hey, Lamar, we go to test the market, see what you're worth out there, but give us the rights to either match or offer." And it was teams that came out and just said, "Nah, we're not gonna make an offer for him." And I'm listening to the experts and all the analysts and stuff say that it's all about teams coming together saying, "Nah, we're not gonna give you the money that you want, fully guaranteed," and all that kind of stuff. But here's my thing: the Ravens want to sign him long term. They keep talking long term. Is not a short term deal a possibility? Just wondering. Like 2-3 years, maybe you want a long term deal, but y'all ain't considered 2 or 3 years, Ravens. I mean, I'm just saying, like, get a man what he want 2-3 years, like a deal like Aaron Rodgers got 3 years, 150 something million, boom, all of it guaranteed. I mean, that might make a difference. It is not holding everybody down for a long period of time. I mean, but somebody will make an offer for him. I hope somebody make an offer for him, but it's looking slight and it's already started off. I mean, they ought to quit with the if that is the case, they need to quit with that because the young man is valuable. I don't know if I would give him a whole, like I'm not a Raven die hard, but the Raven die hards are like pay him, pay him, pay him, or whatever. But for me, I've said it, and I'm gonna keep saying it until they make a decision on him. He was worth more than Kyler Murray. He's worth more than a lot of quarterbacks that got paid. Heck, he's worth more than Russell Wilson right now. Like he's a hot commodity, and I can't believe teams don't want him, especially Atlanta. I thought Atlanta would have been in the running for him, but Atlanta was like, nah, we don't want him. And it's kind of crazy, a talent like that. Nobody really, they said that they don't want him. So because nobody wants to be the one to give him a fully guaranteed contract. Deshaun Watson got that, and he might be the only one to get that fully guaranteed. But in other things, that Daniel Jones, big up to the Giants. They signed him. You know, um, he got his deal, four-year deal. I mean, that's pretty cool. They, like they saying, we're gonna ride with you 4 years. We're gonna give you 4 years to see what you can do. I like that. Not he did make the playoffs, you know. Uh, my tag I always say to people, I love that coaching, so I think that's the right move for him right there. But he put the tag on Saquon. Now running backs, three key running backs got the franchise tag. One being Saquon Barkley, the other one Josh Jacobs for the Raiders, and then my man Tony Pollard. and the market set around 10, 11 million for the running backs. And what a drop off and decline in what running backs are worth to teams nowadays. You know, 20, 30 years ago, running backs were worth much more. Over the last couple of decades, always been a quarterback league. No matter what you say, it's always been the Marinos, the Elways, the Montanas, the Steve Youngs, the Troy Evans. It's always been a quarterback league. The Jim Kellys. I mean, the list goes on and on. You know, you can go way back to the Kenny Stablers. You know, those even before your time. You heard the quarterbacks, Dan Fouts and all those guys. You know, Joe Theismann. You know, you always heard about all these quarterbacks. Hey, Jim McMahon. You know, but quarterbacks are so much so as the main most important thing on teams now, that you know, and then wide receivers and then running backs are way down. You know, running backs used to carry the teams. Amy Smith carried the Cowboys for years. Barry Sanders, he carried the Detroit Lions for years. I mean, you know, you had certain players that did it impressively for years. You know, but it started me to thinking, like, now teams rather run with 2, 3 running backs, you know, constantly shuffling them in. And I'm wondering, you know, is that something that everybody picked up from the New England Patriots? Because I know they were one of the first to do it, play the running back position by committee. You always have a good running back and then maybe a decent backup, but now it's like a whole bunch of them. So I look at it from running backs, even though they've declined, even their roles on the team has declined a little bit, as far as you know, no 30 and 35 carries a game like some used to have back in the days. Heck, you hardly see, if it's not Derrick Henry, you've hardly seen, or you've hardly seen 20 carries. You know, I mean, in a game these days, because they rotate them so frequently. But the value has just changed in the market for uh, running backs. So when you have a good one, yeah, I think teams want to ride them for at least, you know, 5, 6 years. Like Ezekiel Elliott, you know, his time's up pretty much. I think if he wants to sign with the Cowboys again, he gonna have to take a pay cut. You know, or he gonna get cut completely. Other moves that I saw, um, the Rams cutting Leonard Floyd, man. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's, you know, teams got to do what they got to do business wise, but I think Leonard Floyd gonna find a job as soon as free agency's open, like next week or whatever it is. I think his phone ain't already ringing; it'll be ringing next week, because if he is cut, then you know that's a guy, man. 9, 9, 10 sacks a season, you know, for the last 3, 4 years, man. He been solid. So you start looking at, like, that's going to have value somewhere, because some teams can't even get that collectively out of 2, 3 people, much less one person that done it in quite a few years. I don't know, you know, but the Rams, I said it, but the Rams sold out for the Super Bowl. They got their Super Bowl. Uh, Case in point, they had a down season. A lot of injuries, a lot of, you know, and they didn't go all out. Jalen Ramsey probably out of there. If I'm, you know, teams looking at Jalen Ramsey, they're gonna probably pick him up. It's gonna be a lot of changes made for the Rams. Not saying that they won't try to be competitive, but you have to see what kind of moves they make to get back competitive. Um, but the whole franchise tag, I'm the thing that's always tripped me out about the franchise tag. We saw this years ago with the Kirk Cousins. Remember, back then, you know, the Washington Commanders, that franchise, they franchise tagged him twice, 2 years back to back, and he made a lot of money like that. And then he went on and got that fully guaranteed 80 plus million Minnesota after that. But I think that it holds you, the exclusive tag holds you to it. Non-exclusive tag, it gives you a chance to get offers. But what team has 2 first-round picks back to back years that would be worth, uh, you know, like a Lamar Jackson? Um, Other big deals to me. Derek Carr. Excuse me, I was gonna say David, Houston Texans. Sorry about that, but Derek Carr, man. New Orleans Saints. I don't know what the Saints was thinking. I didn't see that the Saints. It was the Jets. Obviously, the Jets didn't want them. Obviously, the Jets still thinking they got a shot at Aaron Rodgers. They went to meet Aaron Rodgers or whatever. Have a conversation with Aaron Rodgers. They still think they got a chance with Aaron Rodgers. So they passed on Derek Carr, which I don't think that's a bad move for him. But the Saints needed a quarterback. Evidently, they wanted to replace James Winston, or you can't rely on James Winston. He's hurt. You never know what James will get. The ecstasy. I understand the move, but Derek Carr, I didn't think he would go to New Orleans. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Um, and I'm not sure that a decent quarterback like him can probably right the ship for the Saints, who do have a great defense, man. Like the Saints have a pretty solid defense if they can keep those pieces in place. But the question is, they got the young guy, what's his name, Olave or whatever, at wide receiver, because you don't know what's going to happen with Mike Thomas. So I mean, and Alvin Kamara in trouble. We'll talk about that a little bit later as far as he's getting in trouble. But Alvin Kamara in trouble, you don't know where that's going to land or whatever. So you don't know what the Saints going to have offensively, is what I'm saying. For Derek Carr to be set up, but maybe they think they got the pieces in place to be able to be effective. I think if you're going to have a quarterback like Derek Carr, the reason why it didn't work with the Raiders is because you need too many pieces. I mean, you got a solid defense, but now you need the offensive pieces to make it work. And they had decent numbers. He's done it. Man, look, when you're getting your butt kicked and you're always having to come back from behind, you could always have decent numbers. Always going, you the league and losing all me his ability to be able to lead a team somewhere, make a good, decent playoff run or whatever. But the Saints missed the playoffs, so making the playoffs is probably good enough for them. I think that's probably their goal. And he's never really been there all that much. So I think he only had one playoff appearance his whole time with the Raiders. So that's why I'm not big on getting a guy who's used to just being so-so. Just being so-so. Still got Garoppolo out there. Nobody's saying where Garoppolo is going to go. Now, the Washington Commanders said that they were passing on the whole Lamar Jackson thing, but at the same time, you don't know if they sticking with Sam Howell for real or if they joking. I don't know if Sam Howell going to be worth whatever. But Gino, Gino got his money, and that's pretty good. 3 years, little short term deal, which is cool because he been in the league 10, 11 years. He already been along. So I respect, but I'm glad that Seattle had me scared. They had me nervous, thinking that they were going to go a different direction other than Geno, who basically saved them. They actually looked pretty good. I mean, it helped Pete Carroll them out. Sometimes when moves are made, what's gone, so what's going to come in, and Geno proved to be the most improved player in the league. So you gotta get credit for that. Not only that, he did his thing. He balled, surprised a bunch of people. I'm pretty sure everybody was surprised except Geno. It seems like Geno knows his value and what it's worth. But I'm glad that he got his deal, and he'll be around a minute. Now we can see if Seattle can build upon that. Here's my thing. Been a Dallas Cowboy fan. I like to see good matchups and stuff like that. But 2 years back to back, we lost to the 49ers. So here's my thing. I want to see the Rams play better. I want to see the Seattle Seahawks. Somebody knock those dudes off over there. Get rid of the 49ers. And it goes back through the history. If you know the history between the Cowboys and the 49ers, you both chasing this thing. Even as the 49ers have been more relevant than my Cowboys in recent years, in the recent decades, but they still haven't won it. So we both sitting at 5. We both still trying to get that 6. So it's a race to get that 6 in my mind. And I want the Cowboys to beat them to that 6-1. I actually rooted for the 49ers, the first, Patrick Mahomes' first Super Bowl win, because I didn't really believe Patrick Mahomes. Yes, y'all, I was an unbeliever in the whole Patrick Mahomes thing. Wasn't on the Andy Reid train. Was just thinking the 49ers had the better defense, was thinking how they were going to win that game, and they almost proved me right, but almost only winning horseshoes, as the old heads used to say. So really can't say anything. That I'm rooting for teams like Seattle. I'm rooting for teams like the Rams, even. You know, dethrone the 49ers over there, beat the 49ers because they keep, like they don't win the division all the time, but they find their ways in the playoffs and they make the playoff runs. I mean, NFC championship games for them, Super Bowl, yeah, I'm just sick of the 49ers, in my opinion, as a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan. Other moves that you really look forward to seeing, things I'm looking forward to seeing. I talked about Tampa Bay needing a quarterback, but what are the Raiders going to do quarterback wise? Is Stidham the man? I don't think that's the long term plan with Stidham. He might get a crack, but if he does get a crack, I don't know. That whole organization. Not to be funny or nothing, but it seemed like Al Davis, he passed away, and they don't know what to do with a franchise. Something that could be monumental. I mean, you know, um, you talk with John Madden. When you think of the Raiders, you think John Madden. You think the great, nothing great. You think Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson. You think great talent, great. But right now, Devontae Adams, he just recently signed there. They got some talent, but they don't have that wow. To me, they don't wow you. They look great on paper, look decent on paper, but they don't wow you. You can't say one particular thing that really sticks out about them. And if they go just settle for a quarterback like Stidham, then you understand why they are where they are. But I already questioned their coach. Like, why did they keep the coaches they got? Why did they even get them in the first place? But those are teams that are scrambling to try to find it. Sometimes, you try stuff and it works. If it work, it work. If it don't, it don't. I guess that's the philosophy right now of the Raiders organization. We're gonna just keep trying different stuff. And if it don't work, we're gonna keep. But at some point, you got to give it your best shot. You got to get the best people, to try to get back in there, try to get back in the race, get back in the hunt of things. I look the Denver Broncos look like they're gonna be on the upswing, maybe. Um, you know, and you still got to worry about the Chiefs in that division. So you need a quarterback, and then you got Herbert in that. I mean, it's gonna be tough. It was already rough, but you got to get a quarterback that can compete with Herbert and Mahomes right now. We don't know what Russell Wilson gonna give you, even with Sean Payton. But what I'm saying is, you got to have a quarterback that can compete in that division. That's a tough division right there. Um, and that's probably why Carr is not mad that he left. I mean, trying to play in Patrick Mahomes' shadow, man, that's tough. You know, um, and I'm hearing the experts say that the Bills' window is closing. I never thought the Bills was going to win the Super Bowl, to be honest. With Josh Allen, I never thought they would. I didn't even think they was going to make it to a Super Bowl with Josh Allen. So I'm not even worried about the. It's certain teams you don't even have to worry about. People were so hot on the Bills this past season, and it's like, why? They only going to break your heart. It's like Minnesota fans. It's like Minnesota Viking fans. They only gonna break your heart. It's like being a Dallas Cowboy fan right now. They only gonna break your heart, man. Until they get it together. You be hoping your team get it together. If you like me, you be your team gonna get it together, but they break your heart. But some of these moves that are being made, like I say, it's a wonder. What is Miami gonna do? Like, what's their backup plan? If Tua can't play, what's their backup plan? They haven't given you a backup plan yet. Um, but now I start thinking about transitioning a little bit to the NBA. Great teams right now. Great games that I've been watching. And you see the Kings that made their way to second in the West because of the fall of the Grizzlies. Ja Morant's issue off the court got his team suffering on the court, even though they were struggling when Ja was there. But now they really struggling. And I heard Anthony Davis say, "Oh, they still a tough team without Ja. Man, they're not the same." That's why you able to come back on. The Clippers came back on them a few nights ago. Last night, the Lakers came back on them. Yeah, it's a team that could, but when it comes down to closing out games, they don't have no closer right now with Ja Morant in flux right now. Man, his situation is just kind of messed up right now. Um, don't know when he gonna get back on the court. Hopefully, it's one day soon. Um, but then again, police investigating, many superstars. I said I was gonna touch up on it, but superstars in these leagues, I don't know, these players, man. I don't know, Ja Morant, Alvin Kamara. Sometimes, look, I'm not gonna judge people for making mistakes or nothing like that. I'm just gonna say, man, uh, got to do better though. As far as Ja Morant, he potentially gonna blow a golden opportunity to be the face of the NBA. Because the NBA, let's face it, gonna be looking for a face. You got all these names that they're throwing out there, but LeBron's reign is pretty much over or almost done with completely. So now you got all this up and coming talent, and Ja is one of them. But Ja, man, it's like, get your head in the game, young fella. Is all I can say. Get the help that you need. Since he said he need help, which I would have wanted him to elaborate on what kind of help you talking, man. Because you got caught with a gun in a nightclub. So what kind of help you talking? I'm just saying, elaborate a little bit. What kind of help you need, or whatever. Fill the fans in, man. Let me know. I'm not in Memphis. I'm not a Memphis Grizzly diehard like that. So I don't know all the particulars. All I know is the young man is exciting to watch when I do catch him. He's excited for the league. He comes to put on a show, talk trash. I mean, all that stuff that play. Even though his team haven't been backing up that trash talk, which I said that earlier. See, if you listen to me, they don't back up the trash talk. Now if you would listen to me, then you would see that I was pretty much wrong about the Lakers. They starting to fight back. But I told y'all, but I did say that Anthony Davis, a healthy Anthony Davis makes a whole lot of difference. He is one of the best players. And I told y'all last week that he did his thing with the Pelicans, dragging them to the playoffs where he was pretty much it there. So, maybe he can do the same for the Lakers. He got they right there. They in the play-in right now if things hold, but you still got 15, 16 games left. But, I'm still disappointed in the Clippers. On Mike against the Raptors to see what they do. They finally got a win with Westbrook. They 1-5 now with Westbrook. But every point that Westbrook, if these guys don't make it, but it has nothing to do with Westbrook, in my opinion. Like I said, it's the laziness, it's the nonchalantness, it's the approach to the game to me, where it's like you got all this talent and nobody really want to step up. But what I did see in a couple of their games is that when they want to play defense, they D you up and they shut you down. The other night they shut Memphis, even though they didn't have Ja Morant. They game changer. They shut, after giving up 51 points in a quarter. Gave up 51 points in a quarter, and then turn around in the fourth quarter and went on like a 17-0 run. I mean, man, do that all game. Do that majority of the game. Like, why you wait until then to turn it up and turn it on? I don't understand when you at the bottom. I can see if you at the top. Understand, it's like the Celtics sliding a little bit over there in the East, and experts panic. Oh, is it time to panic on the Celtics? No, don't push the panic button. They're gonna be around in the end over there in the Eastern Conference. Nothing to panic about. They just hit a little rough patch, but they'll be fine. Like the Celtics gonna be fine. They're gonna be right where they're supposed to be. Eastern Conference Finals, somewhere around, and maybe even back to the NBA Finals. Even though y'all already know I picked the Bucks, and I'm sticking with the Bucks. Which the Bucks, they running away over there. They getting closer to they go. Philly picking up steam. They right on the heels of Boston now. Philly turned it around. I guess Doc Rivers must have heard me but I think Doc know his job at stake pretty much. If he don't get them over the hump, if they don't do nothing this year, then I don't think Doc Rivers gonna have a job with them next year. And the move with Quinn Snyder, it baffles me why Atlanta did that, because Atlanta ain't looking no better, in my opinion. They struggling still. Probably even more so than when they had Nate McMillan, but we're going to sit back and see if it makes a difference. I'm going to hold off on really forcing too much judgment. But the hottest team had been the New York Knicks up until last night when they lost. The Knicks lost, but they lost to the Hornets. I mean, it's sometimes that happen, right? Like the team you least expect catch you. But the Knicks, they playing pretty good basketball. I mean, you win 9, you lose 1, you're 9-1 out of 10. That's not bad. can't knock them for putting themselves in fifth position. But what I was looking at an early playoff look, the Knicks against the Cleveland Cavaliers, look like that might be a matchup right there. That 5 and 6, or they might shift. It might be 4 and 5. I mean that fourth and fifth place right there. But it might be, the Knicks might take that fourth spot, but still they might, whether they have home court or not, look like they might be matching up against the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's going to seem like, whoa, hold on, man. I think that'll be an exciting series to watch with the talent coming on. Like I said last week, I was wrong about the Brunson move. It is making a huge impact. It is making a difference. He shut me up on that. Another team that's trying to, the Dallas Mavericks, Kyrie and Luka, look like they figured it out a little bit. The word on the street is that they don't play defense and stuff like that. But I think they put themselves in position to fight in the playoffs. But you look at when you look at the two sides, Nuggets, you every week you got to mention the Nuggets because the Nuggets have been steady. The Nuggets, Bucks, and Celtics have been the most steadiest thing this year. The Kings are rising. Nobody expected them to be where they are, but they getting steady too. The drop off a little bit. So on the Eastern side, you look at the top teams are there already. You're looking at the Bucks, Boston, and Philly being right there with each other. So like the rest of the order look like like I said, fourth and fifth might switch. You might see the Knicks move to fourth. The Cleveland Cavaliers drop to fifth. You might have the top five already. And I was talking all that about the Heat. They better keep turning up the heat. They better keep putting the pressure on because right now it's getting crucial. And the reason why I want to see the Heat is because I think with the coach that they have in a playoff situation, Spoelstra's team can upset anybody at any year with the pieces in place, as long as the pieces are healthy. And I want to see the Heat. This year I don't want to see mediocre basketball. I want to, or wait until the second round. I want to see first round matchups that are good. First round matchups where it's like, whoa, the 8 seed could possibly upset the 1 seed. I want some basketball like that. Like we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a while. We haven't seen that in years, actually. Where it's like every team has a chance. You watching early round sweeps or gentlemen sweeps 4-1. That gets boring. That gets old. I want to see competitive basketball. You know what I'm saying, in the first round from the jump off. And I think the way that the NBA is setting up, especially in the West, the way it's setting up, it could go either way. The teams at the top better be on the lookout for whoever, the 1 and 2 seeds over there. The 1, 2, and 3 seeds in the West better look out for 6, 7, and 8 because those teams are like they can probably beat you. The fourth and fifth seed, they go balance themselves out. So that's the 4th and 5th seed a good matchup anyway because the teams are already close and they right there together. So those matchups are always pretty good. But I'm looking at who's going to be the 8 seed. We go sit back and see as things unfold. And I'm really looking at Minnesota. Impressive the way Minnesota's hanging in there, and really challenging right now. Anthony Edwards is proven, not just him. Like I said last week, they were my spotlight team last week with some of the players that I never heard of that's doing it. It always leads me to think to make good playoff runs. Sometimes you got to have the unexpected happen sometimes, like different things, like where would the league, you go back to the Shaq and Kobe Lakers, man. You had Derek Fisher hit some key shots, man, in early rounds of the playoffs to get them. Robert Horry hit in the early rounds of the playoffs to get them to the finals. I mean, you take the old Rockets when they made their runs, man. You had Kenny Smith hit shots. You had Mario Ellie. You had different people. San Antonio had the same thing. They had the Steve Kerr here. They had Mario Elliott again. You know what I'm saying? Like different people made contributions. In the recent years, you look at it and you say, man, superstars don't do it all on their own. Sometimes, like you got to have those other pieces. Where would the Bulls won 6 in the 90s? Where would they be if it wasn't for the if it was Kerr these others, Kill O'Neal, are stealing the word from Shaq, the others, but the others on the team, man, they make a difference. The other players on the team can really help you out. And right now, that's what I'm looking at. Whose players are gonna step up and lead charges. You know, when we talk Philly, we always talking Maxey, we talking Embiid, and we talking Harden. You know, but what are the other guys gonna do on the squad? I'm like I said, Tobias is a big disappointment to me. I'm always gonna ride that because I think the young man has too much talent to be so inconsistent. He has too much talent to be that inconsistent. And if he steps his game up, Philly could break a lot of hearts if he step his game up. Mark my words on that. If Tobias Harris could step his game up, you ain't got to give him 20 every night. But if he stay within that 15-point range or whatever, and get some rebounds here and there, man, it could make a lot of difference. And the pickup that really I think that really helps Philly, another pickup, is that PJ Tucker, man. Tucker, he's pretty good at what he does. But the top teams, you don't have to worry about it. Like the Bucks, they're gonna do their thing because the Bucks, everybody contributes already. The Celtics, everybody contributes already. On some of these other teams, you got to see it. That's why that's why I didn't say the Suns. I mean, we know the Suns gonna be decent. I mean, Kevin Durant looking good, him and Booker looking good as a duo. But you always got to think, what else do they have outside of those two and Aiden? Because you can see now with the addition of Kevin Durant, it's already affecting the way Aiden plays. And that's what I was saying. Is Aiden going to be that rebound guy? Is he going to go out and get you 22 rebounds like Anthony Davis did last night? Is he going to go out, 15 rebounds? Or what is he going to do? Block shots, stuff like that. I think those are the things that are missing. And that's why I'll say it again about Denver. My biggest problem with Denver is that we know that they leader not going to block a shot. The Joker not going to block no shots, man. We talk all this stuff about these players being good, but we only talk about them being good from the offensive standpoint. To me, this year, it's been the worst year in the NBA I've ever seen. Nobody's really cranking up the intensity on defense like you've seen in years past. And to me, that kind of, I like defense. And I think, I stick with the motto, defense wins championships. But so whichever teams decide to play defense, they can play defense. I had this thing, talk about the road Warriors, because this year the Warriors just are straight trash on the road. Straight trash for a defending championship team. I think I saw their record last night on the road. They like 7. They still at 7. 7-25? Come on, man. Are you for real right now? These are the defending champs. Now, anything can happen if they get in because of their pedigree, because of their veteran leadership and stuff like that, if they get into the playoffs. But for real, can't win a road game. Maybe they saving it for the playoffs. I don't know, but even with Steph hitting 10 threes last night, they still can't win on the road. The Warriors struggling like that. A team with a veteran savvy, man. A team is like, and some of it's laziness, but they're not playing defense. Like they're not playing defense. Too many wide open shots against the Warriors, which is uncommon with the Warriors. Normally, they had some defense. They had some defensive deficiency in them, but not like they, like they really been exposed this year. Like nobody going all out on the defensive end. Like I said, maybe they saving it. Maybe they waiting. Maybe they waiting the last 10 games of the season or something to really show us what they got. Maybe they need some chemistry. They got some chemistry issues or something. But no team's really bringing it defensively. I mean, so when the playoffs start, you're looking at teams, maybe they're going to tighten up then. Maybe a lot of these teams are going to tighten up then. But the few teams that are standing out because they play both ends here somewhat consistently are the teams that are doing their thing. I think Denver's best defensive weapon is rebounding, in my opinion. Getting the rebound and starting the break. In the half court sets, they lean heavily on the Joker. But when you watch the Michael Porter Juniors, man, when you watch the Jamal Murrays get up and down the court as quick as they get up and down the court, when they get down, it's hard. It's like, man, the pace of the game switches, easier shots. So sometimes, just by the other team missing, it can lead to great things. But on the defensive end, man, I want to see some hands in people's face. I ain't gonna say I want to see some hard fouls, but it's like, man, challenge a guy at the rim. Nobody's challenging at the rim much this season, other than coming from behind. I'm not talking about coming from behind. I'm talking about straight up challenge up and down at the rim. It's not much of that. That's why you're seeing so many highlights. You watching guys just get out of the way and letting guys just, dunk like like they in a dunk contest or something. It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like, where the block shots. Uh, I want to see all that stuff turn up a notch as we get ready to go down the stretch. I want to see the teams that can really put it on, and the teams that don't have it. You're starting to see who the best teams are. I mean, when you go down, which team, which NBA team is really going to put pressure on the top teams when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, in the East, I'm not really looking at, you're really looking at, I'm really looking at Boston and Milwaukee in the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't see much switch there. Um, you know, I know a lot of people really thinking maybe somebody can break that up, but you never know. Maybe these Knicks have proven that they can play, and they've beaten Boston like 3 times. Maybe they could sneak in there somewhere. But coming from the fifth, they would have to play. Coming from the fourth or fifth seed. Remember, in the second round, they would have to play the 1 seed first. If it comes to that, you never know what's going to happen. But I'm just saying, the way things are set up right now, I don't look at any other teams at the bottom of the East to really compete with the top, other than the 4 and 5 right there. Like, you looking at probably first round sweeps for the top 3 teams over there. Milwaukee, Boston, and Philly probably gonna sweep, because these other teams really haven't played all that great in stretches. They had moments, but they haven't really played all that great in stretches. It's gonna be good to see the play-ins. I think the play-in games, those little short games, the play-in, they're gonna be something probably to watch, because those teams that come in the ninth and 10th spot probably won't be lacking in competitiveness when it comes to that time. But somebody got to somebody got to win those games. And you're looking at the fall right now. You're looking at the rise of the Lakers on one end, and then on the other side, you're looking at the fall of the Hawks. Struggling. They've been struggling most of the season. I harp on the Hawks, the Atlanta Hawks, because I think they got too much talent to be where they are. But I think that about a lot of teams. A lot of teams have talent, but it's all about how you put it together, and the coaching and everything coming together, which leads me to the team that I think is going to be a force to reckon with in years to come. The Detroit Pistons. If you haven't got a chance to watch the young Detroit Pistons play, man, they bringing it, and it seemed like that was a good move. I mean, I know they're not winning a whole lot of games this year, but they play hard, and once that talent comes together, and once they build chemistry and stop making those rookie mistakes and stuff like that, they're going to be a team that's tough. And I think that was a good move for James Wiseman. It's paying off for James Wiseman going there. He's getting a chance to showcase what he has, but they got a great young team. Many people say that the Magic going to have that. I don't know about the Magic, but I know the Detroit right now. That's my team to look forward to in the future. And man, just because they struggling and they tanking this year, the Houston Rockets are going to be a tough team, but they tanking this year. I don't see the Spurs being competitive at all. I mean, and I can't believe that Greg Popovich would sign his name to tanking, but that's where they are. They in the toilet. But I don't know if the Rockets, I think it'll take a couple of more years for the Rockets to be competitive. I'm saying the Detroit Pistons can be competitive as early as next season, with their nucleus and with the balance of that team, and just watching them, and with that roster, a few moves here and there could make a difference. But really, I think the greatest thing about the NBA this year, outside of the phenomenal numbers and the scoring and the lack of defense, which is great for the game, but I think these individual players putting up these big numbers and stuff. I noticed that I didn't mention the Dame Lillard Portland Trailblazers, because I want to see if I can find out and see again something. See have I don't know if Dame can win you 40 games or 38, or maybe he can. We're gonna have to see, but that's a lot to ask of one person. That's one of those teams where you like, well, you got Simons who was doing well early on in the season. You got a few pieces. Grant was, but all that stuff that fell apart. It's about the other players, man. Like you got to have other players that step into those roles and step up. But outside of them, what do you see going on? Um, and I think that's going to make the difference for a lot of teams. Like I said, the Nuggets are stacked in the West. The Kings, they probably have the depth, the team playing within the thing, within themselves. The Suns really not there. The Grizzlies, who have some, talent and a little bit of depth, they won't be as deep if Jai's head's not in the game or if Jai's not around and Jai having to carry the weight down the stretch. What I look for with them is that they've had leads in the games that they've lost since Jai's been out, but they blow those leads. But they were blowing leads with Jai, but they blow those leads. It's like you keep blowing those leads. They don't have. They haven't figured out how to play together enough in the fourth quarter to close games, and we know that's where it's at. Sometimes in the fourth quarter, you gotta have somebody, or you got to have your team on point. Sometimes they say, "Oh, every team has to have a closer." Well, every team don't have a closer, so the best way to close is to play a team passing, limit turnovers. But sometimes the pressure is just too much for certain teams, and the turnovers, they get sloppy with the rock. Okay, so with the last few minutes of the show, I want to wrap it up with um, more talk of women, since it's a women day, as far as women in sports. Um, Martina Navratilova, man, I came up watching the Chris Everett's, it's certain ones, Billie Jean King. I was watching, I want to say First Take earlier today, and the whole thing about Billie Jean King, it was before my time, but it was, the battle of the sexes. If you guys haven't really looked that up, check that out. But she did go head to head against against a male tennis player, and she actually won. It wasn't rigged, it wasn't staged or anything like that. Like some people that I used to hear screaming, "Oh, that was set up." No, it wasn't a setup. She actually did her thing. But um, a lot of times, I think that we as a society don't really see women's sports in the same light as we see the male sports. But um, I'm one that's challenged. My challenge has been all, my challenge has been since I started this show. Like, uh, are we going, like when the WNBA gonna come up, like the NBA and stuff like that. So I'm always gonna challenge. I'm always gonna root, and it doesn't matter. I know um, Serena made me pay attention to tennis. Before that, a little bit with during the Sampras and the Agassi eras, but as really paid attention, Serena made me pay attention. Remember being number one for 319 weeks. Last week I talked about Djokovic being there 378 weeks or whatever. Remember, Serena also world number one 319 weeks in a row, but also just going around and all around competitiveness with throughout the different sports. Got to give a shout out to the U.S. Women's soccer team throughout the years. Like they've always been a tough, competitive bunch of players coming together, representing the nation, doing the best that they can. And really, and really chopping it into the international ranks and being a force, something to look up to. I've said it before. Being from Houston, Cheryl Swoops was always huge in Houston. Cynthia Cooper, uh, man, it's so many women that you can name in different things. I want to say Annika Sorensen, uh, golf. She killed it for a while. She was really good. Like um, the tiger of her era, the tiger of her brief era, played pretty good, winning some majors, LGPA tour. It's all kinds, like in every arena. Um, You can mention them Layla Ali in the boxing. Um, I remember Chris Martin, the boxer, like it's just certain ones that, those groundbreakers, those that really, when you looked at it and you said Christy Martin was one of the first female boxers I ever seen, to be honest. Layla Ali, they were like pioneers as far as women boxing and as far as people wanting to tune in and watch women boxing. I mean, I'm old enough to know that was I'm not gonna say it wasn't acceptable, but let's just say it wasn't really looked at with great anticipation and irony. People were like they were crazy. But that's my show for today. Thanks to Sports for America for putting me on. It's the People's Coach, Cornelius Cole. Catch me next Wednesday. Same Eastern. Shout out to Columbus, Ohio. Shout out Houston, Texas. Out Clayton, North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina. Don't forget Nerd Focus, the age rink. Get your brain right and your game tight with Nerd Focus.